Hello, and welcome back to the Pert Ale. This is episode 8. Last we left off, our characters were in the Old Island Fortress when two skeletons had severely wounded Druindar and Aldrich, and we had to make our way back to Morgansfort. Courtesy of a Cure Serious Wounds spell by Father Thelbane, both Aldrich and Druindar were able to be largely healed, and they spent 6 days recovering in the Iron Helm Inn. On the 6th day, we left the Iron Helm and we went into the Toothless Dragon and spoke to some patrons of Garnoth's and learned some rumors that the townsfolk had been hearing. If you'd like a full list of the rumors and whether or not they're true or whether or not they were believed, refer back to the end of episode 7. Some things I'd like to go over before I start the podcast. First off, I got a new microphone, so hopefully my voice sounds a little more clear. And also, I've taken the opportunity over the last several days to rewatch old episodes and to make sure that my notes are all completely caught up. And I've noticed some loose screws and some inconsistencies that I'm going to kind of work around and ultimately tighten up to make a more coherent story. Of course, one of those was when Father Thelbane had cast a spell that was beyond his level when he used Regenerate on Magenhild. That was not something he could do, so I'm just going to chalk that up as like a miracle from Ta. Some other things that I haven't done, I'll work to just kind of tighten those screws up as we play. One thing that I will mention that I did that I hadn't done in the past is there is an antique coins tax in Morgansfort for all treasure that's brought in from the Old Island Fortress or any of the surrounding ruins or dungeons or whatever. So I've gone ahead and I've taken the loot that Aldrich has gotten from the Cisalia and also the loot that was on the body of the goblins, and I have paid the tax for that. And I'm going to work harder to make sure the notes are, more consistent and mistakes are lessened. I am just one guy running a whole game, doing both Game Master stuff as well as PC stuff. So, things fall through the cracks. It is what it is. But ultimately, I'm going to work harder on that. So let's begin. Like I said, we've been in Morgansfort the last 6 days. And after Aldrich and Druindar decided that they were ready, the party left the Iron Helm and went over to the Toothless Dragon to speak to the patrons about any rumors that they've heard. Aldrich and Magenhild have been in the Old Island Fortress a couple of times. The whole party went last time, and it's just been very tough. There's been a lot that the party is fighting against. And so they wanted to see if there was anything that they might be able to learn from the townsfolk. When we left the Iron Helm, it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a cloudy day with no precipitation. But now it's been about let's see. Let's say 1 to 4 hours that we've been in the Toothless Dragon. 2. Okay, so it's been 2 hours. It's now 6 p.m. The party's learned what they've learned, and they decide to leave the tavern. They step out, and they hear a voice call out to them. Well, well, well. Aren't you all stirring this little keep up? You two certainly look better. She points at Aldrich and Druindar. The party looks at her, and she says, well, don't you know who I am? Alright, let's do a perception check on the party members that were not mortally wounded. I feel like Aldrich and Druindar might have been in shock and therefore not paying attention, maybe on the verge of blackout, as they're being pulled out of the Old Island Fortress and carried off back to town to be healed. Alright, it looks like Magenhild recognizes who this lady is. And he speaks up and says, you're the elf that helped lead us out of the Old Island Fortress and get Aldrich and Druindar back to town, aren't you? And the elf looks at Magenhild and says, yes, Very good. My name is Aerith. Aerith Ostwin. I'm an elf from the Eastern Lands. So let's get that added in here. Okay, I know in the last recorded episode, the character creation video, we discussed the background of Aerith. But let's talk about the here and now. Let's use the Game Master emulator to figure out her attitude, motivation, and goals. Then we can work on drumming up a conversation with her. So I'll give her these red dice. And I need a D12. 8. Helpful. Okay, cool. She's helpful. She certainly was when she was helping the party come out of the fortress. So I like that. Let's keep it. Her motivation is fear. Okay, she could very well be afraid. If she's been down in the old island fortress before, she should be afraid. But people motivated by fear can be dangerous. So let's see if I get something a little more positive. And if so, then we'll go with it. Otherwise, she can be motivated by fear. Redemption. 10. Okay. We could roll with that. Let me give it one more and see what I come up with. 8. Survival. Well, we are all motivated by survival. Okay, so with that, I think I'm going to go with redemption. So she is helpful. She's motivated by redemption. Let's figure out her goal. "12. Destroy." Perhaps. If she's motivated by redemption, maybe the destruction of something would redeem her. Let's try again. 1. Protect. Okay. Alright, so what I have here is she's helpful, she's motivated by redemption, and her goal is protection. And she's certainly been helpful to the party in the past by getting Aldrich and Durandar out of the fortress and back into town. Now the redemption and protection angle. Let me think on that for a little bit. So, after introducing herself, she says to the party, "I've been seeking you. I've heard rumors about you since you've been in town, but every time that I have tried to cross paths with you, I've always just missed you on your way down to the fortress. So this last time, I decided to go down to the fortress myself to run into you. And that's when I met your party at the stairs, and you had your mortally wounded, and I helped you back to town. The thing is, that fortress is more dangerous than you know. There is something down in there that killed my entire party not all that long ago, and I've been carrying the burden of grief since. And so I'm hoping that I might be able to aid you in clearing out that evil, and thus bring redemption to myself for being the lone survivor of my party." So let's figure out how long she's been in Morgansfort. We'll roll another D12 on months and see how long she's been here. 9 months. Okay. So she explains to the party, 9 months ago, me and my companions came across this little keep on the borderlands, and we heard rumors, just like you've heard, of evils in that fortress. And we took it upon ourselves to explore those ruins and try to eradicate that evil. And we got down to the second level, and we encountered a being so foul that he slew my entire party. I just barely made it out alive. And when I say that, I mean much in the way that your two companions, who you dragged out of there, were seriously wounded. So was I, as I managed to fight my way back through what would have been my tomb had I not had just a little bit of dressings for my wounds and one healing potion that only restored my strength just a bit. I narrowly escaped. We explored that ruins for a whole month before fate befell my party. And I've been living for the last 8 months in shame that I was not able to protect them from the evil that's below. And it wasn't until you folk started stirring rumors around town about people once again exploring the old island fortress that my hope was raised again. And I've heard of your troubles, with one of you being viciously attacked by a spider, and then of course the two of you that I helped rescue that were brutally attacked by skeletons. I know how dangerous it is down there. I've also heard rumors of you being told that you should stay away, and yet you persist in going. So I believe it's my time to redeem myself for the death of my party, and I want to join you on this quest of the old island fortress to help eradicate that which killed my party. And so with that, let's make a perception check on the whole party now and not just the 4 that I did before. Let's see if anybody believes her. So it looks like Magenhild believes her. Maybe the rest of the party has some questions. Maybe they aren't in such the disbelief that the dice are showing necessarily, because they know how tough the dungeon is. They've been down there. And between, with Aldrich especially, the Cysalia, the Sturges, and then Magenhild with the crab spider, and then even just as the whole party went down there, we encountered those 5 goblins plus the 2 skeletons, and those were all back to back. So it's very clear that this dungeon is a hostile environment. So maybe instead of everybody being in pretty stark disbelief, Aldrich has a 3 and Gizleman has a 3 and Fritz just flat out doesn't believe her. And we have a little bit of leeway here with Baldric and Druendar. Maybe we just say that because one believes, they're all willing to at least listen. And so with that, maybe the party has some questions with regards to the rumors that they've heard. Baldric, being the one that heard something about some big bad evil guy down in the fortress, kind of pipes up and says, I heard the rumor of an ancient barbarian chieftain being entombed in the ruins. He's said to have had a magic sword. Is that true? Now let's see if Aerith knows about this barbarian chieftain. She does. Not only does she know, she says, yes, Master Halfling, that is, in fact, the being of which I speak. He slew my entire party, and had I not gotten away, I would not be here to tell the tale to you. He is a most ferocious being, and that is why I've sought you out, to redeem my party and to protect you. I've come to offer my longsword to you, that we may destroy him once and for all, and perhaps the souls of my dearly departed party may finally rest. And so with that, I think that we ought to check in with the party and see if they would like for Aerith to join them. I think there's a high probability of yes. It sounds like she knows what she's talking about. She's given us quite a story, and she's also confirmed a rumor that Baldric has heard. So with that, I think we should make a high probability Oracle check. 1 and 3 are yes, so with that, Aerith joins the party. Now, like I said, it was 4 o'clock in the evening when the party left the Iron Helm to go to the Toothless Dragon to hear rumors, and that took about 2 hours. So it was 6 o'clock p.m. when we left and ran into Aerith, and let's assume that the whole conversation with Aerith was about an hour. So now it's 7 p.m. Obviously, it's very late to be going to the Old Island Fortress, so now would probably be a good time to wrap up any shopping that we have to do. Now, we've not been in the Old Island Fortress long enough to use any rations, so I'm not worried about that. And we've refilled our water skins. But perhaps we need to upgrade equipment. Now, looking over the characters, we don't have enough money for anybody to upgrade any weaponry. We just don't have enough gold yet. But I believe our 2 thieves can upgrade their armor. So let's head over to the local smithy and see what we can do. So inside we meet Tobe, who is the apprentice to the armorer, Rugar. Tobe recommends that our thieves upgrade their armor from leather to studded leather. And with that, they shell out the gold necessary for that. And they take their armor and they leave. Now, it being, again, 7 o'clock at night, maybe 7:20 or 7:30 by this point, the party suggests that they rest in the Iron Helm and start fresh in the morning. So let's figure out. So Aerith has been in Morgansfort for 9 months. So with a high probability of yes, does Aerith have a room at the Iron Helm? No, she does not. So she obviously lives somewhere nearby. So with that, Aerith will depart from the party, and the rest of the party will go back to the Iron Helm, and they will rest up, and then we will delve into the Old Island Fortress the next morning. Now, we don't know where Aerith sleeps, so she'll just disappear for a time. What time should we meet up, though? That's a good question. What time in the morning should we meet up? Let's do a random number generator between, let's say, 5 a.m. and 8 a.m. $5 a.m. So it looks like the party absolutely should get to sleep. And it looks like we are going to head out at first light. So Aerith bids the party farewell, and the party heads off to bed, and we will pick it back up first thing in the morning. Okay, it is now morning. What time of the morning is it? That's pretty late. I don't think that they're going to get a start so late. Let's roll again. 4, I mean, that's totally a possibility. They kind of split off pretty early. Let me give it one more. Okay, 1. Now, out of all of those, obviously, the one that makes the most sense is 4. So it's pre-dawn, and the party awakens. They want to get a start on it. Okay. Now we need to roll on the weather. All right. Is it clear or is it cloudy? Okay, clear. Do we have any chance of precipitation? Nope. Looks like it's going to be clear all day. All right. And so let's say it takes another hour for them to kind of get ready, you know. And so it's 5 o'clock by the time they're ready to walk out of the Iron Helm. And they head outside, and Aerith is there to meet them. And so there shouldn't be anything else left to do in town. Our thieves have upgraded their armor. I think the only thing that has been spent so far has been 2 flasks of oil, but there are several flasks of oil between a few members of the party, so I'm not going to stress about that. Besides, we've not amassed our wealth yet. So let's step out. Now, does the party want Aerith to lead? She does seem to be the expert on the Old Island Fortress. So let's see. I will say a high probability of yes. Alright, well that's a no. Maybe they just don't want her to lead out of town yet. We'll make another check when we get there. Maybe they just don't even consider it. They're just like, okay, fall in line, let's go. And Aldrich leads the party. And I can get Giselman out of the way. Giselman does not have his name tag. Where is your name tag? Okay. So with that, I'm going to kind of rearrange the tokens. I'll pause and do that. Okay, so we've just kind of absorbed Aerith into the back at the moment. Maybe once we get there, though, the party will have a better feeling on her leading. So let's head out of town. And I know nobody in this part of the fort has been officially introduced in the podcast yet, but here we have Glorin. He's in charge of taking our antique coins for the tax. And so anyway, we're just going to walk right out of the gate. Okay, now would be a good time to see if the party reconsiders her being the leader. That's actually all the way around a yes. So we're going to put Aerith at the front of the party. Now there's another question we need to ask. Since she's been down here and she's been to the lower level, does she have a map? I'm going to say a high probability of no. Because unless she was the mapper herself, she wouldn't have had the opportunity in the moment, you know, as she's fleeing from the big bad evil guy. She wouldn't have had the opportunity to grab that. And I'll also say no because, you know, I don't know how large her party was, but what are the chances that she was the mapper and also got out? So, high probability of no, but she may have a map on her. Alright, there's actually 2 yeses right there, so she does have a map. But is it whole? Like, has it been torn? You know, are there pieces missing? Not necessarily its completeness, but its intactness. Is it still intact? No, it's not intact. How much is missing? 87% is missing. Why don't we just say 87% is available? So there's a section of it that is missing. Now, is that the upper level or the lower level? So we'll do a 1 and 2. Is the upper level missing the portion, or is the lower level? 1 for upper, 2 for lower. Alright, so the 13%, we'll just round it to 15%. We'll say that 15% of the map is missing and it's the lower level. And we'll just kind of go from there. Of what's intact, how much of the dungeon has been mapped? 99%. So this is a very in-depth map. Okay. Now, don't anybody fret. I'm not trying to make the PCs win here by stacking the deck in their favor. This is just what the dice have shown. And, you know, the dice giveth, the dice taketh away. So, just keep that in mind. Okay, so with that, we're going to have Gizelmund head down the stairs and look into the hexagonal room. Make sure there's nothing in there. Or report on anything that might be there. Okay. So let's make a move silent check on our dwarf. Those are not his dice, but next roll I will do on his. And once again, that is a fail for our bumbling dwarf friend Gizelmund as he shambles loudly down the stairs. And he gets to the corner here and he peeks around. Now, does he see anything? No, he does not see anything other than our skeleton Sturge here. That's good. That's good. Alright, so Gizelmund returns back to the party to report that he doesn't see anything in the hexagonal room, and so the party's going to make its way down. Actually, before we begin, it would be smart to have Aldrich light his lamp, although, you know, he can shroud it if need be, and we need to check on our magic users to see what spells they have prepared. Something we should have done in Morgansfort, but better late than never. So we have Druindar and Aerith. They have spells. Now, Druindar's only spell is sleep, so he will go ahead and prepare that. And Aerith, if you remember from our character creation video, has 4 spells, 2 level 1 spells, Ventriloquism and Read Languages, and she has 2 level 2 spells, Invisibility and Locate Object. Now, I've never used any of these. Obviously, none of these are offensive spells, but I'm going to go ahead and prep one of each. And we'll kind of get a feel for these spells. I've never done any spells beyond level 1, and even just a couple of those, so I'm interested to see what these do. And with that, it's time to move forward. Aerith is going to once again peer into the room. I don't want to make another die check on this and possibly get a yes. So we'll say just because, well, I don't know, it took them time to prepare their spells. So I guess we ought to make another die check on, another oracle check on whether or not there's something in the room. She also has dark vision, so let's see what we may be able to see or hopefully not see. Okay, so the Oracle says that she does see something in the room. Now, is it an NPC or is it a monster? So, back to the random number generator. 1 for NPC and 2 for monster. It is an NPC. Honestly, I'm a little overwhelmed right now with all of the characters that I'm trying to keep up with here. So I'm going to override that and I'm going to make it a monster. And hopefully this doesn't completely wipe us out because this is getting a little old. We should have prepared those spells in Morgansfort. That's the only reason I'm even running this, is because it took time for them to open their spell books and prepare their spells, and I don't want to say, oh well, they did that back in Morgansfort when I didn't even think about it until we got here. So that is a foul on my end, and it has caused an encounter for the party. So let's roll a d6 and figure out what monster. 1. Okay, the party cannot catch a break. It is 1d2 giant Cicelias. Let's see how many. Now we have slain 1, but there appear to be at least 2 left in the dungeon, so okay, well, at least it's only 1. Okay. These things are, by and large, blind, but they're very susceptible to vibration and sound. So let's do a perception check on the Cicelia and see if it heard our party coming down the stairs. The thing that makes most sense to me at the moment is a wisdom modifier of 0 against a target number of 17. And my reasoning behind that is it's a bug, so it's not going to have wisdom. But kind of using wisdom as a marker for its ability to hear noise and feel vibration. I'd probably do something a little different for other bugs, but kind of giving it like a baseline 0 wisdom and the target number of 17, because I know the party's going to want to try to be quiet. We've encountered a lot so far. Now, whether or not they were actually quiet, that's a different roll, and maybe I auto roll on that. So let's do that. Let's roll on whether or not the party was being quiet first, and we'll do a dexterity check against the highest dexterity modifier for the party. Actually, we're going to use the lowest dexterity number. That makes the most sense to me. That, yeah, the party may be trying to be quiet, but the least dexterous of them might not have been. And that would be Magenhild. So I will do a dexterity check against Magenhild and his target number of 17 and see what we come up with. Okay, so unfortunately, at least one of our party was not being as quiet as they thought. And that might be enough. Let's check the Cicelia. So again, a wisdom modifier of 0 against a target of 17. 2. Okay, so that actually works out really well in the favor of the party. While Magenhild was not being super quiet, the Cicelia was maybe a little distracted or just couldn't feel or hear anything. And that's okay too. Now, in terms of strategy, we could attempt to see the reaction of this monster to see whether or not it's interested in the party. But it's a man-eating bug, Well, I was considering for a moment that maybe it had fed recently and it wasn't going to be interested, but eventually it will digest its meal and it will be a possible problem for the party down the line. So it might be smarter to engage the creature, especially now that we have a higher level character with us, that we might be able to just smoke him real quick and be done. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Enough chatter. I think I'm just going to go on ahead and engage him. I think we should do a sneak attack on it while we're in the dark and it hasn't hurt us. You know, based on what Aerith is seeing, it's just kind of sitting there. And since we've rolled its perception, we, as the humans in this, know that the Cycelia doesn't know that we're there. That doesn't know that the party is there. So I'm going to go on ahead and give whatever modifications there are for surprise. I think that would be the best. I think that would be the best thing to do. Okay, so double checking with the rules, it looks like the phrasing I was looking for was attack from behind. And since this animal is unaware, I think I'm going to go ahead and add the +2 to attack bonus for an attack from behind. So with that, let's get all of our ranged weapons out, and I guess I'll only give the attack from behind bonus once to the first person who has it. Because after that, whether it's hit or not, but especially after it's hit, it will no longer be unaware. I think that's the most balanced way to use that. So let me figure out who I would like to go first. Okay. As much as I'd like to showcase Aerith in battle, obviously she has the best attack bonus, being level 4. So that +2 would be really helpful to any die roll that she made. Unfortunately, her throwing spear is just so low range. You know, she's actually outside of being around the corner where she is. She's still 20 feet outside of her long range, which is already a -2, which would negate the +2 attack bonus. So looking it over, it looks like the one person who could do the most damage in a single blow, should it land, would be Aldrich. So let's get Aldrich up, and he's going to use his longbow. Okay. Aldrich attacks the Cycelia with his longbow. And unfortunately, that is just not enough. Add in the dexterity and attack bonus and the +2. That's a +4. That's 13. The Cycelia has 14 AC. So with that, let me roll surprise on the Cycelia real quick. And it is not surprised. Awesome. Alright, so now it's time to roll initiative. Let me add the Cycelia to the initiative tracker. Alright. Alright, I'll get all this added up, put it in the initiative tracker, and we will go from there. Okay. So first up we have Baldric. Now, something that I will also assume that has happened, since it took time for them to prepare this morning, and maybe I could have used that as the time that the magic users prepared their spells, but neither here nor there now. But I'm going to assume that any and all crossbows are loaded at the start of this round. So Baldric is going to move to the front. And we're going to zoom in a little here. And he's going to use his crossbow. Nice try, little guy. Okay. Fritz, you're up. Okay, so Fritz is going to move 20 feet so that he is in short range of using his sling. All right. And with a +1 for being in range, a +1 on attack, and then a +2 on dexterity, Fritz absolutely hits. So let's roll damage. 4. And since it's a sling, he gets a +1 for his strength, and so that is 5. Very good. Nice shot, Fritz. Okay. Next up is Magnhild the Mighty. And he doesn't have any ranged weapons, so he's going to go ahead and move up his 30 feet. And to make this a little more visually pleasing, I'm going to get rid of our Sturge for just the fight. Okay. Alright. It is now the Caecilia's turn. Here's hoping for an absolute brick of a toss from our worm. 12, and it has an attack bonus of 3, so that is 15. Unfortunately, there is only one party member that is within the Caecilia's movement rate, and that is Magnhild. And because Magnhild only has an armor class of 14, with this 12 plus 3 being 15, Magnhild is going to be targeted. So let's hope that the damage is minimal. Wow. Magnhild is now severely wounded. Remember, he has an HP of 8. So this is not looking very good for Magnhild. Also, I need to move the Caecilia up, because he did move up and attack Magnhild. Okay. Giselmund, you're up. It occurs to me I did not roll on the amount of turns that Aldrich's lamp has been lit. So let's just everybody play pretend that the characters that did not have dark vision were lit by Aldrich's lamp. A little detail I didn't think about, and then after the fight I will roll on the number of turns for his lamp. But hopefully Giselmund will take care of this thing, and we can figure out what we need to do to stabilize Magnhild. Giselmund aims around the corner with his light crossbow and fires at the Caecilia. (16) plus dex plus attack bonus, and that is a hit. Three. Okay. Now I think would be a good time to check the morale of the Caecilia. Probably should have checked him after Fritz's sling. Maybe Magnhild would not have gotten bitten, but neither here nor there. And actually, neither here nor there still, the Caecilia is fighting. Okay. Next is Druendar, and he will move up the 20 feet to engage the Cycilia in melee with his longsword. Nice. Okay. 16 plus strength plus attack bonus. That's 19. That is absolutely a hit. So let's finish this guy off. 2 plus strength. And that is it. That is all she wrote for the Cycilia. Okay. So now we are confronted once again with the issue of Magenhild being severely wounded by a creature in the Old Island Fortress. Now we can head back to town and we can rest, and I can totally just streamline that they're in town for a few days and then come back. So I think I'll do that. I think I will go on ahead and just streamline the party going back to town, being in town for a few days, and then coming back to the Old Island Fortress. And maybe while they're there, they can negotiate with the herbalist that's in town, Mayan Brai, for a potion of healing. Maybe Aerith would be kind enough to pony up most of her gold in order to at least have one potion of healing. And then I think I'm going to put a potion of healing for them in here somewhere. Because until my cleric hits level 2, we have 0 heal options. Now, somebody could have the heal skill, which will effectively just stabilize them so that they don't die. But we don't have any magical response to these devastating wounds. And I know that I'm running the fortress a little, like, kind of on hard mode. But frankly, though, as long as we're getting the wandering monsters taken care of, then they're done. And we've done kind of a number on the wandering monsters, just not having explored much of the dungeon. So maybe, you know, if I continue hard mode like this, and we continue to survive, then maybe we can just explore the upper portion of the fortress without being bothered much. So it has its pros and it has its cons. Obviously, I very much could have lost Magenhild. Fortunately, not with the Cycilia because of its 1d6 damage, but it could have been somebody else. You know, Durundar's only got 6 hit points, and I'll bet Baldric doesn't have much in the way. I don't have his character sheet directly in front of me. But, you know, we're all low level. And, yeah, we could have run, but we couldn't have parlayed. It's a bug. Maybe, though, maybe we could have thrown a ration at him. That was a possibility I didn't consider initially. But Magenhild is alive, if just, you know, severely wounded. So let's get him back to town. We're not going to bother Father Thelbane. Maybe there's a possibility of running into Father Cormac. I'm just going to kind of streamline all of that. I'll do the dice throws. That way we can continue forward, because so far we've really not explored this, and we're already on episode 8. As much as I'd like this to be a real play podcast, sometimes real play can go real slow. So let me just pause here, and I'll figure out what I want to do, and ultimately we will just meet back right here, and we'll continue forward. Okay, the party was in town for 4 days while Magenhild recovered. And in that time, Aerith took it upon herself to use her invisibility for the benefit of the party, if in a less than moral way. She went to Mayan Brai's apothecary under the invisibility spell. And she was in luck on the day that she did it. It was the first day that they had been back, the first full day. So not directly after getting there, but the first full day. And the herbalist had 3 potions of healing. And while the herbalist and her daughter were distracted by something, under the spell of invisibility, Aerith lifted those 3 potions. The party does not know that she has 3 potions of healing, let alone how she came about procuring them. And so with that, the party makes its way back to the old island fortress, and we are back here indeed. So with that, we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to have our dwarf thief check the hexagonal room, and hopefully there's nothing in there. But again, remember, as long as we're clearing out monsters from the wandering monster table, we are making the dungeon easier to traverse. So let's get Giselman out and we will try this little experiment again. Okay, so Giselman makes his way down the corridor to the corner to check. Does he move silently? Oh, my big bumbling dwarf. Okay. Is there anything in the hexagonal room? No. Finally, the party catches a break. Now, I didn't say this before we started, but I'm going to assume that all spells have been prepared. All crossbows and other loaded weapons are loaded. And we are prepared to actually explore this dungeon. So Giselman is going to return to the party, and we are finally going to move past this darned stairwell. Alright, Aerith does one final check, and I'm not going to roll the dice. The room is empty, with the exception of the rotting corpses of the 2 previously slain monsters. So now, we make it into the center of the room. Now we need to figure out, from our guide here, which direction she thinks we ought to go. We explained to her that we have been east, and we've encountered the pit trap there that we have since disabled. There is yellow mold in a corridor to the south in the eastern direction. And we have also come across 5 goblins that we have killed. So where does Aerith suggest that we go? Again, I'm going to do a random number generator. We're going to do 1 for east, 2 for south, and 3 for west. Something I need to check real quick is whether or not we are going to hear something from the southwestern direction like Giselman had heard previously. Okay, we do not. Also to note, it's once again early in the morning. I didn't roll on that, but let's say, much like last time, they got up around 4, took an hour to prepare, that's 5. We're down here by 5:30, 6 o'clock. So very early morning. Now, which direction does Aerith want to go? Again, 1 for east, 2 for south, and 3 for west. She's wanting to head south. Okay. Now she has a map, so let me check to see what her map would show her. Alright, so remember that she has a map that, according to our dice roll, is 99% complete. That's a huge advantage for the party, and seeing as how we're playing what appears to be hard mode, I'm okay with that. They're needing a little help down here. So she wants to go south. Okay, so that would tell me that she knows that there is a trap in this hallway. She says to the party that if you have gone east and there is a yellow mold in the southern corridor there, then we could go south from here and ultimately reach the room that you're trying to reach and bypass that yellow mold completely. But I forewarn you, there is a trap within 20 feet of entering this corridor. It is a pit trap, and while my party disabled it while we were down here previously, I can't guarantee that it is disabled. But all we have to do in order to reach the room beyond the corridor that has the yellow mold is to head south this direction, head west, head south again, and then back east, and we will ultimately reach the room in that southern corridor that you are wanting to explore further. So if that's something that you would like to do, we can move forward. There is a room off the corridor, but it was empty when we last explored it. I do remember some treasures in there, but they weren't much. So we could go and check to see if there's a new horde in that room, and then move upward into where you were wanting to explore previously, but were hindered by the yellow mold. So now we need to figure out if the party is interested in following Aerith's direction going south. They are. Okay. Now that is a yes with a qualifier. What is it? So it's a yes, but let's roll on the verb and noun table. We haven't done that yet. $78. Disguise. 20. Weapon. Okay, well, we know that there is a trap 20 feet beyond this point. Or at least that's what Aerith has told the party. So I could see that being the disguise weapon, right? Let's move the party up to the corridor. And let's see if there's anything in the corridor besides the trap. There's not. Okay. She says it is 20 feet in, so that would be here. So let's move one in. And we will have our thieves do a detect trap. Okay. Oh. Interesting. Both of them are, in fact, able to detect the trap. And I didn't even have to give them advantage for knowing that the trap was there. That's something I'll try to remember in the future. But I have a 1 and a 2. So they know the trap is there. So now let me give advantage to each thief to see if they're able to remove it. Well, this one here would be 10. And so Baldric is able to remove the trap. Alright, so Baldric steps up, and he, within moments, is able to disable the trap, and the party can proceed further. Something I did not do, and I will compensate for the fact that I'm doing it late, is I did not figure out how long Aldrich's lamp has been lit. And that's 18 plus 1d6 turns. 5. So 23. Okay, I'm going to assume that 4 turns have passed. I've not really been paying attention on that. But there's been some movement, and there's been some deliberation between the party members about what direction to go. So I'll say 40 minutes have passed. I think that's fair. So we still have 19 turns to go. And now it looks like that we are near a door. And also this western corridor opens up for them. So I think the party should check out the door and see if they hear anything and move from there. So let's do a listening check for our thieves. As was previously explained by Aerith, when she was last in that room, there was nothing but some small treasures. So we're listening at the door, and Baldric once again passes his listen check, and what he hears is a humming sound. The door is ajar. It's like slightly cracked, and it looks a little moisture worn. You know, a little affected by moisture. And he hears a humming sound. Now, do any of our characters want to open the door? So let's do a yes or no check on every character. And I may give a higher yes or no to our elf because she's been here before. So let me give her a 2 die check. So it looks like only 2 characters want to open the door. That would be Giselmund and Druendar are willing to open the door. Everybody else is just not interested in opening the door based on the humming sound that ultimately kind of becomes a buzzing as the party approaches closer. So not being able to help their curiosity, Giselmund and Druendar peer inside the door. And they both have dark vision, so let's see if they're able to open the door silently. So Giselmund has a move silent check that I'll roll for him, and Druendar, being an elf, I will give him a 1 to 2 on a d6 on being silent. Okay, so Druendar is being silent when they open the door, but Giselmund does not. Maybe he sneezes really loud. Gesundheit, Giselmund. Okay. Giant bees. You've heard of them, but they're larger than you expected, and they are moving towards you menacingly. So, based on Giselmund's sneeze, it looks like there are now 6 giant bees staring this at. And just like that, the party has to roll initiative. Hopefully we can think of something clever here. But let's roll in it. Needless to say, the party is not happy with the fact that our elf and dwarf decided that it was a good time to go peering into a door with a random buzzing sound. So now we're going to roll initiative. Alright, I will get this added up as before, and then we will come back and fight these bees. Or run, whatever the party ultimately decides. Okay, so here is initiative. Let's move the map over a little bit. And see our foe. Okay, so Druendar's first. He's going to move up forward his 20 feet and engage one of the bees in melee combat. Alright, so let's see if it's B2 or B5. I will assign B2 the number 1 and B5 the number 2. Alright, so he's going to attack B number 5 with his longsword. Okay, that's a miss. Next up is Fritz. So Fritz is going to move up 20 feet, and he is going to use his sling. Let's see if we can hit somebody. Okay, so now we have all 6 bees that he could hit. So let's roll a d6 on Fritz and see who he hits. Okay, so using the number that is labeled under the bee this time, he's going to aim for bee number 2. So let's see if he hits. 18. 18 is a hit. That's fantastic. So let's see how much he hits for. 4. Alright. 4 plus strength even, so that's 5. And B number 2 goes down. Fantastic. Okay. It is Aerith's turn. First time she's really getting to fight. Okay, she will move her 20 feet, and she will attack with her throwing spear. And so we have only 5 bees left, so we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so bee number 1. Bro. I don't know what to say, but bro. Bro. Oh, okay. Alright. Magenhild is up next. Magenhild is going to move his 30 feet up and attack Giant Bee number 5 with his longsword. Nice. Okay. Good deal. I don't need to add the modifiers, but because I should. 18 plus attack bonus plus strength is 20. That is absolutely a hit. So, for how much? It was a longsword, so 1d8. The longsword plus 1 even, so that was a 21. So anyway, that's a plus 1. Bee number 5 is absolutely down. Giselmund, you're up next. Alright, so Giselmund is going to move his 30 feet up so he can attack one of these groups of bees or this group of bees. So let's figure that out. Is he going to attack group number 1 or group number 2? Okay, he's going to attack group number 2. So Giselmund moves up. He's going to attack either B3 or B6. So let's figure that out. 1 for 3, 2 for 6. Alright, he's going to attack B number 6. Nice try, our bumbling dwarf friend. Alright, next up is Baldric. Alright, so Baldric's going to move his 30 feet, and then he's going to likely use his crossbow, because I don't believe... 1, 2, 3... He won't be in direct range to be able to use his short sword, so we're going to move up here with our buddy Magenhild, and we are going to aim at... Let's see, group number 1 or group number 2. Group number 1. Now, B1 or B4. B1 being number 1 and B4 being number 2. Alright, so B number 4. Oh, wait. Yes. Haha. Okay. I was concerned we did not hit, but we have the +1 with being in range. We have a +2 for missile when it comes to him being a halfling. And then we have a +1 for dexterity. That's a +4. Bees have AC of 13. That is a hit. Okay. Let's roll a d6. +1 for being within range. And that is absolutely B number 4 being taken down. Okay, I believe it is Aldrich's turn. Some of them have moved at the same time, but it is what it is. So next is Aldrich and the giant bee. So let's see what we can do here. Okay. So Aldrich is going to move up his 20 feet. And he is going to use his longbow on giant bee. Well, let's see. We'll assign a number 1, 2, and 3 to see which bee he could hit because he's within range of any of them. Bee number 2. That would be B3 on our tabletop. Not good. Not good. Okay. Now it's the bee's turn. Let's see if they're able to hit. They hit. They hit. Okay. This could very well be a very decisive point for our party. Some party members may die, and I don't think I'm going to save them. I think I'm going to let them fall and use this as a lesson that when we see giant insects that can kill us, we run. Well, that's just how the OSR works. Like, there's really no such thing as a balanced encounter. That is, you have to use your wits as well as your skills in order to get where you are. And if a party member dies today, a party member dies today. If they fail their saving throw versus poison, I'm not going to do like I did with Magenhild and override it. We didn't have that kind of party size when I did that before. If they pass their saving throw, but then ultimately the die cast for their damage causes them to die, quote unquote, I don't care to do a death-defying injury roll from D12 magazine to kind of keep them from dying from that. But if they are hit with poison, if they are poisoned, then today we may be saying goodbye to some characters. So I have 7 characters, and they're all within range to be hit, because a bee can move 10 feet on foot, but can fly 50 feet. And everybody's within 50 feet. So we're going to roll 3 1-7s, and we're going to see who hits. And we're going to use the numbers that we've assigned to our party members previously. It looks like the podcast is going to change a little bit. The campaign is going to change a little bit. Somebody's likely going to die tonight, and that's unfortunate. So let's figure out who, though. And hopefully none. Hopefully Ta, the god above in this story, is gracious to all 3 members of the party that are attacked. That's a bit of a downfall when you roll enemy collectives. You know, if I rolled every single one of these bees, there's a chance with having 6 of them that somebody would have already been attacked early on. And so I kind of mitigate that by rolling as a monster collective. But when the monster does roll to hit, and it hits, then all of them get the opportunity to hit. So, you know, it's kind of a catch-22. So let's figure it out. The only character that does not have a number officially is Aerith, but I'm going to go ahead and give her the number 7. So let's see who the first victim is. One. That is Aldrich. Let's see what happens. Alright, so that's a D4 for damage. And then I need to make a saving throw versus poison for Aldrich. Alright, so he gets 1 hit point of damage, but can he save versus poison? And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, just like that, our main hero, our main character, Aldrich Folk, is stung by a giant bee and is poisoned and dies. I hate to see it. I really do. I hate to see Aldrich die. But this might be the thing that wakes the party up. I mean, he brought all of us together. It was Aldrich that came into Morgansfort after his caravan was waylaid. It was Aldrich that learned about the problems in Morgansfort from Father Cormac. And just like that, our main character is now dead. And again, had he passed his saving throw, I would have done anything that I could to keep him alive. You know, he only got 1 point of damage. But he failed his saving throw versus poison. And I'm not willing to do that again. You know, I saved Magenhild, but, you know, I can't save them all like this. It's not like Final Fantasy, where you get a TPK, and then your party just magically wakes up prior to the encounter. You know, or wherever your save was. That's just not how this works. So unfortunately, Mr. Aldrich Folk, you are dead. Now. We still have 2 other bees to contend with. Number 4, Fritz. Let's roll his damage, and then we'll see whether or not he saves versus poison. He'll get 2 hit points damage if he saves versus poison. Fritz, my friend, we're sorry to lose you. We truly are. We are sorry to lose you. This is getting tough. This is getting tough. Our party was reckless, and they came in, and they fought a poisonous monster, and let's hope that one of them lives to tell the tale. Okay, so now I have to kind of shift the number count a little bit because we lost number 4. So I'll adjust accordingly. Let's see what happens with the next one. So with that, we'll say Baldric is number 1, Druindar is number 2, Giselmund is number 3, Magenhild is number 4, and Aerith is number 5. Alright, Druindar. Let's roll for damage. It'll be 3 HP if you pass your poison saving throw. Okay, so Druindar passes his poison saving throw. I think it would be a really good time for the party to get out of here. We literally just watched 2 of our party members die. And so it's now a good time to cut and run. Let's check back to initiative. Alright, so the giant bee just went. And so now it's Druindar's turn. Okay, so Druindar decides to run. So that means that Druindar can move double his encounter rate for rounds equal to 2 times his constitution. Well, we only have the 1 round now, so he's going to move 40 feet. So he's going to hightail it out of here. Next up in initiative is Aerith. She can also move 40 feet. Next is Magenhild. Magenhild is going to run. Magenhild can run 60 feet. Next is Giselmund. Giselmund can run 60 feet. And Baldric. Baldric can run 60 feet. Now, according to the module, the bees can chase up to 60 feet. So let's see if they're going to do that. They are. Well, how many? We have 3, so let's figure out how many. 2 of them. Okay. We'll assume these 2. 1, 2. Looks like they're able to attack again. $14. Okay, that hits nobody within range. Next up is Druindar. And again, he's going to run his 40 feet. Obviously, he's not dead. That's a layering issue in Owlbear that I hope to figure out one day. But anyway, Aerith. She is also going to run her 40 feet. Magenhild. He's going to run for his 60 feet. Next up is Giselmund, and he will be running his 60 feet. And then, of course, Baldric. I'm going to move the map a little bit. He's going to run his 60 feet as well. Next up is the bees. And with the party having retreated further than they're willing to go, the bees have decided that their nest is no longer in danger, so they decide to return back to the hive. Okay, and Aerith and Druindar are going to meet up with the rest of the party. And we've lost 2 good men down here. We've lost Fritz, our cleric, and perhaps even more sadly, we've lost Aldrich, our main character and our hero, whom we've been with since episode 1. But that's how the OSR goes. So with that, the party is going to return to Morgansfort to heal and to mourn the loss of their party mates. The return to Morgansfort is a solemn affair. Many of the party are weeping. Everybody is extremely distraught at the loss of both Fritz and Aldrich. It's Giselman that suggests that they head to the Toothless Dragon to have a drink in honor of their fallen comrades. And the party, very much in their grief, agrees. Aerith feels most guilty as she has already lost a party to this fortress, but now she feels that she has lured more men to their death by bringing them back down into that ruin. She's very distraught. She would very much like a beer. Or 6. Now, before the party enters, we can safely assume that it's not even noon yet. They left very early in the morning, and they weren't down there very long before ultimately coming upon the bees. Just to note that. They enter into the tavern, and they are mournful, again, some of them weeping, and it turns the mood of the tavern completely upside down. When Garnoth hears of the news of Aldrich's falling, he begins to weep. Now, is Father Cormac there? Let's check. He is. So let's add him to the room. He too is incredibly distraught at the loss of Aldrich, as well as Fritz, who was a fellow cleric. He offers to the party a simple solace, and offers to say his next holy liturgy for the repose of the souls of Aldrich and Fritz. He humbly buys the party their first beer, and then goes off to a corner to think to himself. As the party starts to drink to their fallen comrades, stories of their bravery, how few they may be, begin to circulate. Rumors that were heard in town, as well as things that the party who fought alongside them have to say. Father Cormac ultimately comes back and says, "Were you able to recover the bodies?" And the party hangs their heads low and says that they were not. He says all the same that we should still hold a funeral for them, and the party agrees. And again, another round of weeping comes out of our party members. The afternoon drags on, and our party grows increasingly drunk, and they decide to stumble back to the Iron Helm. Aerith agrees to get a room at the inn because she does not want to depart from the company. They're all in mourning. Many in town are distraught at the news of the death of Aldrich and Fritz. They sacrifice their lives in order to get down to the core of the truth of the problems that have befallen Morgansfort. I'm going to be honest, I don't know where the story is going to go from here. I did not think that we would lose 2 party members, let alone our main character. So obviously the show is going to shift a bit. The next time we come together, we'll figure out how much time has passed, how much time the party needs to mourn, and we will move forward from here. At the end of the day, the issues that are plaguing Morgansfort have not disappeared. Therefore, the adventure must go on. But the party will take its time to mourn the loss of their friends, particularly because they were not able to retrieve their bodies, and they have nothing to bury, nothing to visit, and they know that their friends are rotting down in a dungeon. This is certainly a heavy burden for our party to bear, but we will see what happens next. I'm sorry to leave on such a sad note, but this seems like a good point to stop the episode. So with that, let's hope for a better start for the adventure next time.